Hey, I'm Joanna, and welcome to my end of the month reflection video where I want to tell you about what has helped me stay soul aligned in the month of July. So, first of all, just a couple of words about how I approach alignment, how I think about alignment. So, essentially, alignment to me is about feeling good in yourself, feeling good about where you are, kind of like being your best possible self, but not in this judgmental you're not good enough way, but rather paying attention to what makes you feel good and strong and confident and rooted in your truth and in what matters to you. And when you're aligned with who you really are, with your soul, with who you are at your core, at heart. You understand what you want, you know what's best for you, you trust your decisions. So I look at alignment like that. Now, this month, alignment took a little bit of extra effort from me because it was a more difficult month health wise. I have some health stuff that gets in the way of pretty much everything, including alignment. So it just took a bit of extra effort to stay aligned. I didn't succeed all the time, absolutely not. I definitely gave in to despair and hopelessness several times, but I kept bouncing back. I kept trying to bring myself back to center and back to what mattered to me and back to doing what I needed to do to feel as good as I could under the circumstances and to enjoy my life as best I could under the circumstances. So, what did I do to help me stay aligned? What did I keep bringing myself back to? I have several things to share with you today. The first is following joy as best I could. So, when life happens, right? And we always have life happening. We always have things that are difficult, problems we need to solve, health stuff coming up for ourselves or our loved ones. Like, there's just always stuff, right? Like, I don't really remember a time of my life that, of course, there are times that are more turbulent than others, but in general, there's always something happening in life, right? And when stuff like that happens, we don't tend to prioritize joy. We kind of tend to go into problem solving or despair or stress and anxiety, and we hang out in that stressed out place. And prioritizing joy when all these things are going wrong, when plans are going wrong, when whatever it is we think should be happening isn't happening, it's just not our natural response. But in fact, joy is one of the ways in which our soul communicates with us, and joy is one of the best ways to stay aligned with who you really are. And staying aligned just keeps you really strong and grounded so that you can then better navigate all that stuff that's happening around you and in the world for that matter. So I tried to follow joy as best I could, both in my work and in my personal life. And in my work, it looked like making YouTube videos, which I am just learning to do and I'm just experimenting with, so bear with me. But I'm really, really enjoying. So I tried my hand at some tarot tube videos. I think one so far, but I have many others planned. And I tried my hand at a booktube video, my first, and I really enjoyed both of those. And I'm trying my hand at this end of month reflection video, and I'm seeing how this goes. I'm just experimenting and playing, and this is part of my creativity and part of me finding my joy or allowing myself to feel joy. In my personal life, I tried to follow joy as well. And for example, instead of stressing out about all the things that needed to happen, I allowed myself to relax into reading a lot more. I used to be a bigger reader than I am now. I still find that it's difficult to make time to read, so I made a bigger effort to find books that were right for this time in my life for me and to actually make space to read them. Sometimes I couldn't focus because there were so many things that were happening in my head, and I literally had to set an alarm and say to myself, for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to read this book. And when the alarm goes, that's when I'm allowed to get up. And this sounds like the opposite of joy. That doesn't sound very joyful to make myself read, but I know that when I get into it, it is a joy. It lets my body relax. It lets my mind focus on something else, not just my problems. And so in the end, it does actually bring me a lot of joy if I allow myself to sink into it. Now, I just want to say, I don't have any huge problems. It's normal life stuff that has felt overwhelming for me in the past month. So, including, as I said, some health stuff that just gets in the way. So, yeah, I just wanted to make that clear because I'm referencing all these problems, and I don't want people who know me who are watching this to think that something hugely wrong is going on. It's just life stuff. So, yeah, focusing on joy, prioritizing joy, making joy an intentional choice, both in work and in my personal life, was part of my alignment practice this month. Another big part of my alignment practice, as always, was my tarot practice. So I pulled a card every single day this July, which I'm very, very happy about. I did nothing fancy this month, you guys. I did not ask any powerful questions. I didn't try to come up with complicated spreads. I literally just asked every morning or every day when I sat down at my desk. I asked, what is my message for today? And that's it. And I pulled a card and I journaled for literally like 2 minutes on that card. And then, because it was in my notebook, I could see at the end of the day how it had shown up for me. And that was really nice. It was sometimes really interesting to see how a card showed up practically. So that really kept me centered. It really kept me centered and grounded and helped me to trust myself and trust the guidance and keep going. Now I know a lot of you like to see decks, tarot decks, so I'm just going to show you the decks that I used most in July. With clients, I was using the Wandering Star Tarot a lot. This is by Kat Pierce. I really like this deck when I'm working with clients, especially face-to-face, and I've had several face-to-face consultations with local people this month. I like this deck because it has keywords on it. So I just find that people who don't necessarily read tarot for themselves, they quite like that. They like to be able to understand the card themselves through the keywords. It just brings another layer to our sessions. And so that's what I've been using with clients this month. And for myself, I was using a combination of my usual Tarot of the Witch's Garden, which is a great deck if you don't have it. The Unfolding Path, which is relatively new to my collection, but is already becoming a fast favorite. This is just a beautiful deck. The art is just gorgeous. I mentioned it in all the tarot videos that I've done so far because it just comes up for me all the time. I ran a Lunas gathering, so like an intuitive circle for some clients this month, and I used the Flower Child tarot for that, which is just delightful. Honestly, I should really record a more in-depth video about this deck, but it is just delightful. It is colorful and it is cheerful, and that hippie-ish flower power energy is really present in it, and I just really love it. I just really love it. I want to show you like all the cards. I can't show you all the cards, but look, so gorgeous. So I was using the Flower Child Tarot for that. And as part of that gathering as well, I was using this Enchanted Earth Oracle by Jessica Lahoud. I bought this very, very recently based on somebody else's tarot tube video. I can't remember her name just now, but this deck is just so, so, so beautiful. If you like the cover, you'll like the cards. So there you go. That's what I've been using for my tarot practice, simplified tarot practice this month. So, what else has been helping me to stay aligned? Spending time with friends. There is nothing better than that, right? Lots of laughter, lots of fun. I never really thought about spending time with friends as an alignment practice, but one of the messages that I channeled from my spirit team, I work with a spirit team called Avalon, and I channel a message and some prompts every week for my elevator group. One of the messages this month was about friendship as an alignment practice. And like, it's nothing mind blowing, but at the same time, I just never thought of it that way. So I'd been really paying attention to how spending time with friends realigns me. And it's so true. It absolutely is an alignment practice. Every time I met up with a dear friend, and I may have been feeling frazzled or stressed or out of alignment in some way, I always come out of our meeting, our coffee, our lunch, feeling aligned because they love me for who I am. I don't have to pretend. I don't have to put on a mask. I can just be who I am, and my energy just comes in, and I can be the truth of who I am for a little bit. And that's just really, really beautiful. So, spending time with friends is absolutely an alignment practice. I think a lot of the time when we think about alignment, when we think about like spiritual practices and soul alignment practices, we think about ethereal things. And in fact, a lot of the time, they're grounded. The things that really keep us aligned are very grounded because we are currently here in this physical space. And so we need to be doing these grounded physical things that are still aligned with who we really are, but that actually exist in the real world, where we can touch things and taste things and hug friends. So yeah, friendships are definitely a great alignment practice. And lastly, I've just been doing a lot of things that have a lot of meaning to me personally, that really make me feel like the truest version of myself. And for me, those things are theater things and cultural things and musical theater things. I just love that whole world. I always have. And I did a lot of those things this month. I didn't even realize how many until I made the list to make this video in preparation for this video. So I took a Broadway dance class, which was absolutely fantastic. We danced and we sang to All That Jazz from Chicago and to Big Spender from Sweet Charity. It was a blast. I mean, it took place on like the hottest day of the year, so that was very uncomfortable. But besides that, it was a blast, and I've already signed up for the next one, which will be Mamma Mia, which will be super fun, obviously. I continued going to my ballet class, which I absolutely adore. I took part in a choir concert, and I got to MC the solo part of that performance. So all the soloists, I got to introduce each one of them, which was really fun. Very out of my comfort zone, but I really enjoyed doing it. And I even got to see a play at the Galway Arts Festival. So we saw Vernon God Little, and of course I can't remember the name of the author, but it was by the Galway Youth Group, and it was a fantastic production. The acting was absolutely stellar. So I feel like that artsy part of me has been well fed this month, and that absolutely has helped me to stay in alignment, to feel good about myself and my life. Now, alignment is, of course, also about moving forward in alignment and following soul nudges. So I just wanted to mention a couple of things, a couple of nudges that I myself followed this month and how that felt. So the first nudge that I want to tell you about is the nudge to run a live online event. I did one last month for Midsummer. That was the first live online thing that I'd done for 5 or 6 years, a really long time, because of COVID Zoom burnout, and then because we were moving, and then my health. So I just haven't done anything live like that for a long time, even online. And I did one last month, and I really, really enjoyed it. And so I did another one this month. It was definitely a soul nudge. It was not a logical decision. I am not sure where these gatherings are going, but I knew that I wanted to explore this kind of offering And it was really, really fun. It was amazing. I channeled a few messages, seasonal messages from Avalon, and then we had space to talk about those and for everybody to pull their own cards and get help interpreting and share their insights. And it was just a really, really lovely experience. If you were there, I hope you agree. And so I really want to be doing more of those. I just feel like we need more connection in our lives. I think in an age of AI where anybody can get ChatGPT to write a blog post or even probably make a video like this, although hopefully a little bit less rambly if it was AI. I just think connection is really, really important. So I want to definitely build that into what I'm fostering, what I'm facilitating in the world, so that we can co-create a world of more connection together. So that was definitely a soul nudge rather than a logical decision. It felt scary because what if nobody comes? It felt scary also because what if people come and it's awful? And I could have easily talked myself out of it. In fact, I asked people to RSVP to this and I almost canceled it. I already talked myself out of it. I decided to cancel it, and then the first RSVP arrived, and I was like, oh man, now I have to do it. So it was definitely like a soul move rather than a logical thing. And I'm really glad that I followed, and I'm really glad that that RSVP came in at the time it did so that I didn't cancel it in the end, because I wouldn't have had this beautiful connective experience otherwise. So that was really great. So that was a soul nudge to do something. And I also had a soul nudge to not do something. So I'm in the process of planning an online event, like a community event in September, and I had it all planned out. I had purchased a coaching package to help me put this together. Again, because I want to co-create more community feeling and more just togetherness in the online space and beyond, like in real life as well. And I had it all planned out, and it's just something wasn't sitting right for me. Every time I went to work on it, it just felt like really hard work. It felt like I was pushing through something. It just felt off. And so instead of pushing through and sending things out, I paused and I had a conversation with a dear friend, and we identified that this wasn't the event that I actually wanted to run, that I had again got caught up in some shoulds, in some old stories. And so I am taking a bit of a break and letting what I actually want to run to rise to the surface, to have the opportunity to rise to the surface. So that was also a soul nudge, and it felt like something was off. Like I had decided to do this, but I didn't really want to. It just didn't feel exciting to me. It didn't feel fun. It didn't feel like something I wanted to be spending that much time on. And all of these things were signs that there was some kind of misalignment happening. So yes, that can be a way that the soul nudge shows up as well, in terms of like not following through with something that you've already put into motion. And just lastly, one more thing that really helped me stay aligned is to keep coming back to the cards that I had pulled for this month. So at the cusp of every new year, I pull cards for each month of the coming year. And for July, I'd pulled the Four of Swords. This is from the Tarot of the Witch's Garden again. So I'd pulled this Four of Swords, and it's not like I was entering the month thinking, oh, I'm just not going to do anything because clearly I need to sleep. No, but a lot of the time when I felt out of alignment, when I started to feel frustrated with what wasn't happening, when I was unable to see anything moving, anything shifting, none of the things that I wanted to make progress on this month really happened because of my health stuff. And I would keep bringing myself back to this card, which was a reminder that maybe this was not wrong, but right. Maybe this was a month of taking a step back and taking a bit of a mental break and not trying to figure things out, but let things kind of rise up. And so I tried to approach my life from this perspective. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. I'm human and I have things I want to be doing. But it did actually help to have this guide for the month to keep coming back to kind of remind myself, or at least ask myself, if this was a positive part of the process, if I was supposed to take a mental break this month, why would that be? What would that break be for? What would that break give me? How would it make me stronger? And looking at some of the things that were happening from that perspective really helped, because I was able to zoom out and look at this month as one of many months on a journey rather than a one-off that was a bit wonky. All right, that's it. I hope that that was interesting. Please let me know in the comments. I would really love to know what in this video resonated with you, if anything, and if this kind of content is interesting or not. And yeah, I'm happy to report that I feel much more aligned ending the month than I did at the beginning. And I think that's really because I made a more intentional, conscious effort to stay in alignment and to move through whatever difficulties were thrown at me and whatever overwhelm I experienced in a more balanced way, in as pleasant way as I could, and in ways that really worked for me as a person in my current situation, not for anybody else, but for me. So I really tried to pay attention to what I needed to move through the month in a stronger way and to give myself those things. So that's what I encourage you to do. Obviously, that is why I'm sharing all this with you. I hope that was interesting, and I will see you in another video. Bye.